Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. I'm your host Terry. So just came back out yesterday. I went home for like a day to get new glasses, and I overheard my wife saying to somebody, yeah, he got new glasses, but they just look like the same glasses he had. So I don't know. Oh, actually I don't have my old pair. This is my new pair. But the key is that they work a lot better. I had, you know, I kind of took the cheap way out the last time, and it's been probably, it was too long, and between optometry visits. But I ordered some glasses from Zenni, and they weren't horrible, but you know, they're made by some 12-year-old Chinese girl, I think, and then they're shipped to you. So I just bit the bullet, and I got new glasses, new sunglasses. So I'm happy about that. The one thing that was like super important is the anti-glare coating. And let me just share this thought. Speaking of glare, you know, I often see signs about, like, you know, construction workers being safe in construction zones, blah blah blah. And here's my deal. Here's my quid pro quo. If you don't blind me, and this goes for cops and construction workers, if you don't blind me, I'll be less likely to kill you with my truck. Okay? And you know, I'm actually on a load. I already got the load on my back. I'm on my way back up to New Hampshire, to Hopkinton, New Hampshire. And the other day when I was coming through like New England at night, like Massachusetts and stuff, I noticed how much less the lights were in their construction zones. Like the state troopers that were like parked at the construction zone, they would just have a low, you know, like a low brightness blue and red light illuminated on their vehicle. And here's the thing, and in the Navy we used to have, you know, we used to darken our ships, right? Like we'd set dog zebra to darken the ship at night. Now that's partially just because ships are dark out in the water, so you can see the nav lights, but also it's just a, you know, it's a defensive posture. But one of the things we were taught in boot camp is that you could see like somebody taking a drag on a cigarette like 5 miles away. In other words, when it's dark out, even one tiny light is super noticeable. And so, you know, I've gone through construction zones recently where they have these bright ass lights just shining basically parallel down the road, and you guys all know what I'm talking about. No one's out there working, and I'm just blinded. And if somebody's, you know, and I'm just trying to find my way, and then they'll say, oh, the left lane's closed. Well, what they really mean to say is the left lane, and whatever we felt like closing in the right lane, that's where we put the cones or the barrels or whatever. And so I'm grateful for my anti-glare coating glasses. It seemed to help a little bit last night. So got that done. I want to give another shout out to Quick Trip. If for no other reason, you know, I did a video quite a while ago about Buc-ee's and how they're anti-trucker. And, you know, some people are like, well, I don't care, I'm still going to go to Buc-ee's. And hey, that's your business. But I'm just a reporter in that case. You know, I'm just like, hey, I tried to go to Buc-ee's Bobtail, and they're like, you know, like people came out of the store to tell me I couldn't park, even though there were vehicles that were bigger and longer in the parking lot than my Bobtail. Buc-ee's is anti-trucker, and this has been in the news media and stuff. But what I love is Quick Trip kind of trolled Buc-ee's on social media recently, and they basically said, yeah, we love truckers. And they also, I made a note that they had this attractive woman holding up, that Quick Trip had this attractive woman holding up their sign. But take a look. And, you know, I will say this, Quick Trip is a great place for truckers to go. They got good prices on grocery items. It's not like going to Dollar General or something. They have non-truck stop prices, even though they're a truck stop. A lot of them have showers. They're usually very clean. You know, it's a lot less of a hassle. Now, I will say some of those places, the locals like to use it for parking and stuff, and that's not really cool, but, you know, that's not Quick Trip's fault. But everywhere you go that there's a Quick Trip, and this is a little secret. I went to a Quick Trip one time in Minnesota. It was a Saturday, and then I needed a place to park. But this was not a Quick Trip with truck parking. So I drove around the building, and I just got as close to the curb by the gas pumps as I could. And I went inside, and I said to the person working in there, I was like, hey, do you mind if I park there for a little bit? And they're like, no. They go, I said, if the fuel truck comes, because I was by the fuel things. I said, if the fuel truck comes, you know, I'll move. I don't have any issues with that. And she's like, what's today? I said, it's Saturday. She goes, I don't think they're coming tonight. She goes, you'll be fine. And yeah, it was totally cool. So again, shout out to Quick Trip with K-W-I-K. They're only, you know, they don't have a huge footprint. You're talking Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota. There might be one down in Illinois now. Not a huge footprint, but it's a treat if you get to go to one. So anyway, that's that. Let's talk about some trucking companies behaving badly. And this may not be in the badly category, but, you know, we'll see. So, well, first, let me just follow up with that, the accidents on the Ohio Turnpike that I was talking about. One guy has been charged, one trucker has been charged with like vehicular manslaughter in that. But from reading the description, both in the local news and on CDL Life, it seems like there was an accident. And then this chucklehead just plowed into the accident, or plowed into traffic that was stopped for the first accident. And by the way, I was out there that day. This was a day that was bright and sunny. Now this happened a little bit earlier in the morning, but it still would have been light out, okay? Because this happened after 6 in the morning. And I don't know what this clown was doing. He's 24 years old. He, you know, it wouldn't shock me at all that he was on his phone. And he was driving like, you know, 80 miles an hour on his phone. And, you know, there was traffic stopped ahead. And by the way, if you've driven that section, it's not like it's curvy. It's not like it's hilly. It's basically flat through there, and you could see quite a ways up the highway. So no excuse. He's going to, you know, go to jail at some point. So that's that. Okay, let's talk about Forward Air for a second, because things have not settled down at Forward Air. Recently, one investor that holds around 12% of the company, I think, 12% of the equity, they filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission, and they said, hey, we are now no longer a passive investor, we are an active investor, meaning that they're going to try to get seats on the board and force other corporate things to happen. But and they're a private equity fund, 2 other smaller equity holders, but who are both activist private equity funds, have basically said, hey, you guys need to go private. You know, there's no shareholder value here, and, you know, we could do better. We could sell this company at a premium to the stock price, which means that what they're saying to all the other investors is that, hey, if you want to get out of this, because, you know, the stock price is a tiny portion of what it was, say, 2 years ago, before they tried to start that merger with Omni Logistics. And so a lot of the shareholders who may have bought Forward Air stock in the 90s and now it's in the 30s, they may be like, hey, if I could just get 40 out of this, I'll be happy. So that's going to be the pitch that these private equity investors make, and they're going to try to take over the company. The crazy thing about the company is they have a lot of debt. I think they have like $5.2 billion of debt on their books. So what that means is if you're a driver there, if you're a contractor with them, you got to know that if this goes down, what's going to happen is these private equity investors who get control of the company are going to lard the company up with a ton of debt, and they're going to service that debt, and they're going to try to refi it maybe, but the company as a going concern, say 10 years from now, probably not going to be there. They're going to, you know, private equity has a track record of going in, getting everything they can out of it, and then shutting the doors, selling everything off. And that may be the value, right? Like they may say, oh, well, we can get control of this company and slowly sell the pieces off. And at some point, that company's just going to be too big of a burden for them, and they're going to want to move on to the next project. Sorry, woke up just a little bit ago. And yeah, they're just going to move on. And the rank and file employees, contractors, whatever, are going to be left holding the bag. Private equity is the death sentence for almost every company. I mean, there are probably examples of private equity coming in and, quote, saving a company, but they're few and far between. And private equity is destroying, you know, it's destroying American corporations one at a time. And, you know, it's part of it is that rich people want to stay rich, and so they'll sell to private equity. That they don't have that idea that their company's going to continue for, you know, a century or whatever. So if you're there, man, keep your eyes peeled. You know, see what it's like. But I virtually guarantee that if private equity takes over, you're going to see less and less money invested in the business. Whatever it is that they do that helps you as a contractor. And they're going to give away the best load, you know, they're going to monetize everything as much as they can, and, you know, you're going to be an afterthought. I guarantee it. Okay, so other companies, and I'm not saying Forward Air's behaving badly necessarily. That's just the nature of the world, right? Publicly traded companies, business, whatever you want to say. So I talked to somebody actually I talked to a couple people about this the other day, but there was a driver that left Prime, and this driver, you know, just left Prime on good terms. They were a company driver, by the way. And they left Prime, and they wanted to do something, I guess, maybe closer to home. So they took a job at Martin. And they had you know, Martin hired them, right? They had a good record at Prime. And, you know, they were told in orientation that there's like this probationary period of 30 days at the company. And that's not unusual at companies, you know. A lot of times there are probationary periods. But what happened, I think, is kind of crappy. Not kind of crappy, it is crappy. Because most of us, if we were told there was a probationary period, we'd be like, okay, well, you know, we're truck drivers, right? So we can't, you know, get in a wreck. We can't, you know, we can't cause a wreck, right? We can't get a ticket, fail an inspection. We can't service fail, right? Like those are four big things, right? We can't, and you know, if they have a policy that says, you know, you can't refuse a load, then obviously you can't refuse a load, right? That would all be stuff that you would consider under the probationary period. But here's what happened to this driver. They were driving on the freeway, and this has happened to me multiple times, and they got sideswiped. Their mirror, not the whole truck, just their mirror, got sideswiped by a truck going by its trailer. And they have video of the incident. Excuse me. And so they brought the driver in, and they were like, hey, you know, you had this incident, we're gonna have to let you go. And the driver was like, why? And was I at fault? And they're like, no, you weren't at fault, but we just have this policy that if anything happens, you know, in the first 30 days, you gotta go. And I said to them, I was talking to him on the phone, I said, man, if you knew that going in, right, and if you're getting ready to go to Martin, here's a little tidbit. What you should do at Martin is go to orientation. They assign you a truck, but then what you want to do is talk to your driver or fleet manager and immediately ask for 30 days home time. So nothing could possibly happen. But here's the crazy thing about how they dealt with this. Like getting your mirror sideswiped and swinging it around, that's a very common occurrence. I mean, I know tons, like I said, I had my mirror whacked or destroyed several times. My son, when he was driving at Prime, I think twice it happened. And people just will, you know, and hit and runs are common, you know? So I can't even imagine, like, given what I know about their situation, I'm wondering if you were like, they're like, okay, here's your truck, and you take possession of the truck, you give them the check sheet saying it's good to go, and then you're loading your stuff in, and while you're loading your stuff in the truck, you've never even moved the thing, some other driver at Martin backs into you with a trailer because they're trying to park next to you. Are you getting fired for that? I mean, because it kind of seems like it, right? Like, that's an incident. It wasn't your fault. But what's the difference between getting hit in the parking lot by another Martin driver and getting hit on the road by some hit and run driver, and neither is your fault? And you're not doing anything wrong. I don't get it. Like, is that the best they can do? Is that how they roll? Bring everybody, that's kind of a CRST thing. Bring everybody in and then find a reason to get rid of them. I mean, CRST, you probably wouldn't even get on the road, but you know, that's just totally uncool. Like, somebody made a commitment to you and there's a mistake that they have really almost zero control over, unless they just didn't get on the road that day. And you can them. That's just crappy. And then what do you say in their DAC, right? Like, or what do they say? They're like, yeah, we noticed you only lasted 22 days at your last company. What's up with that? What are you gonna say? Oh, I was in the probationary period. Is another company gonna want to take a chance on you? I don't know. But again, this is just part and parcel of how trucking companies crap on truckers. Because I bet you 20 bucks that at Martin, if you're a fleet manager or a driver manager and you make a mistake, because really and you make a mistake that's not even your fault, are you on a probationary period? Do you get fired? I don't know. But if that's not the case, then once again, it just shows how unfairly trucking companies treat truckers. And just remember that when Trucker Appreciation Week comes up. At Martin, there is no, you know, it's a zero defect mentality, even when you haven't done anything wrong. So I just thought that was kind of crappy. One more crappy incident, and I don't even know the trucking company, and this is like a story I got kind of secondhand. So my son-in-law, actually my son was telling me this story, but my son-in-law is in the IT world. And he works remotely, but periodically his company has like these I call it a muster, right? Where they just say, okay, everybody's getting together at this location. Sometimes, you know, because they have offices in different places around the country, so they just pick one and they say, hey, we're getting together. And so it just so happened that they had their most recent gathering in New Jersey. And the way this is described to me is that a colleague of my son-in-law was driving his nice new shiny BMW to the conference in New Jersey. And he happened to stop at what has been told to me as a pilot truck stop in New Jersey to get fuel. Now, I don't know which pilot it is. There's one on 78, there's one on 80. But in any event, they're parked at the gas pumps. And it just so happens that they're at the end pump, kind of on the farthest corner, if you will. So out towards the road and on the end pump. So some chucklehead truck driver, so they pump their fuel, they go inside. And, you know, I do not advocate stopping for cars or RVs stopping at truck stops. I think truck stops are dangerous. And, you know, and candidly, cars and RVs and motorcyclists, they just do other dangerous things around trucks at truck stops that that they shouldn't do. But in any event, this guy wasn't doing anything wrong, except he went to a truck stop and he left his car unattended out by the corner of the pumps. So some trucker comes out of the fuel island for the trucks, and I guess he's going to take a lap around the building or go circle back around to try to park or whatever. But in any event, he decides he's going to drive past the car pumps, the gas pumps. And when he does, of course, because he is a clown and he's probably on his phone and he doesn't know what the F he's doing, he totally crushes the BMW with his trailer. But, you know, this is trucking, right? So add insult to injury, and he just leaves. So I guess he didn't, I don't know what if he was looking for a parking spot, he definitely didn't get it. But anyway, he just leaves. They get the video of it, but you know, and they're able to identify the trucking company. But it's like if you do a hit and run, you know, you better make sure there's no cameras. You better make sure no one can chase you down. Because if the cops get involved and you've done a hit and run, that's probably not gonna, it's not gonna look good on your record. But it's also just a really shitty thing. And you know, the easiest way to avoid doing a hit and run is just don't hit somebody. I mean, that's kind of how I roll. I'm like, yeah, I'll just try not to hit anybody today or every day. But yeah, it's, you know, again, trucking companies, you know, drivers being bad, trucking companies being bad, trucking company investors being bad. It's just bad. It's bad. But, you know, it's a job, right? So anyway, I'm going to get on the road here. Let me see how much time. I was tired last night, so I just stopped and took a 10. So I'm going to be getting a pre-trip done here, getting on the road here in a minute, and try not to hit anybody today. So be safe, and I'll talk to you soon.